Republicans taking the battle for border security to Capitol Hill. Lawmakers sparring for hours during the House Judiciary Committee's first hearing on the border crisis.
We have set records for migrants coming into the country. And frankly, I think it's intentional.
Communities have been neglected and banned to rely on our own local and state resources to address border that is in a crisis mode.
Kamala Harris was appointed the border czar. Have you had a lot of interaction with her?
No.
But Democrats fired back.
The first hearing will showcase the racist tendencies of the extreme MAGA Republican wing of the party.
Many Republicans in Congress seem intent on demonizing migrant families, portraying them as fentanyl traffickers and violent criminals.
It's not Biden's border crisis. This has been a crisis for over half a century.
Here to react is Texas Congressman Nathaniel Moran, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thanks for being with us this morning. Last time I checked, the U.S. welcomes people and migrants as long as it's done safely and legally. But I do want your reaction to the Democrats calling this racist and a distraction by the GOP.
Well, happy Groundhog Day. And yesterday was very informative because what we saw effectively was that the Democrats saw their shadow and signaled to the United States, to the American people, that they're going to see continued open border policies over the next 2 years without regard to our rule of law. And clearly, you know, we had folks on the panel that were giving us firsthand testimony about what was going on. More than half of our border protection agents are Hispanic in nature. This is not a racist issue. This is a secured national defense issue. This is an issue we have to fix quickly.
Yeah, Congressman Moran, I think when you hear the Democrats go to their standard, oh, everything's racist line of defense, you know that their position is untenable. So you have some people saying it's racist. You have other people like this judge that we're going to play from El Paso saying there's no border crisis. Listen.
There's no invasion of migrants in our community, nor are there hordes of undocumented immigrants committing crimes against citizens or causing havoc in our community.
Congressman Moran, your reaction to that statement?
Yeah, I was shocked by the judge's statement. I was a county judge in Texas. I've been down to the El Paso sector, and I can tell you what he said is simply not true. And in fact, when I asked him some questions, he said, hey, 95% of the money that we're using there locally is from FEMA. Well, FEMA is an emergency management agency. So clearly there's an emergency management situation down there on the border. There's a border crisis. I've seen it firsthand. I know from Texas judge standpoint, we have to secure our borders for various reasons.
And, you know, Congressman, there is obviously there's a bunch of different crises at the border right now, but the drugs infiltrating our border is a main topic. You know, we had a top DA official saying that 2 different cartels are the biggest threats to the criminal drug threats the U.S. has ever seen. Let's take a listen to this and we'll talk about it.
The Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels pose the greatest criminal drug threat the United States has ever faced. These ruthless, violent criminal organizations have associates, facilitators, and brokers in all 50 states. The cartels are destroying families and communities with callous indifference and greed.
You know, and I think one of the main issues is what they're calling the fentanyl crisis right now. Do you think this is one of the top, if not the top, crisis at the border right now that we need to get a hold on?
Absolutely, Ashley. The sheriff is right on yesterday when he talked about both the drug trafficking and the human trafficking. But from a fentanyl standpoint, we have so much fentanyl in this country right now. It can kill all Americans many times over. We heard the heart-wrenching story yesterday of a father who talked about his 15-year-old son who died in Hays County last year from a fentanyl overdose. And it was just tragic to hear his story. So many, unfortunately, lost lives due to this, due to these drugs and due to our inability to stop the cartels bringing those drugs over our borders.
73,000, in fact, from August 2020 to August 2021. So how will Republicans put a stop to this?
Well, Republicans are going to have to cramp down immediately using our appropriations arm. We'd also like to see passed Chip Roy's bill, House Resolution 29, that says basically, look, you either have to detain folks or return them to their country of origin. We can no longer catch and release, and we can no longer have our porous borders. It really comes down to the administration, the Biden administration, whether or not they want to enforce the rule of law and their policies that they're allowing at this point that are making our borders so porous.
You know, is Title 42, I know it's going to be in place until I think June, sometime in June. Is it even working down there? Because you see all of these numbers, these huge numbers of fentanyl and the cartels coming through. What's the point of it even right now if it's not stopping, while it's stopping the drugs and the cartels from coming over the border? What's going to happen when it's not in place?
Well, you know, we've got to just step back and say to ourselves, this is not a complicated issue. We know neighbor to neighbor. When I was growing up, I knew my neighbor's yard belonged to him and our yard belonged to us, and I couldn't trespass without his permission. Private property rights and the rule of law means something. That is not a hard concept to gain, and countries around the world enforce border security. Why can't we do it here at home?
Congressman Nathaniel Moran, thank you so much for your time this morning. Great insight. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir.